This is William Hall with Resist the Mainstream. Before we jump into today's video, just a quick reminder to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you get notified when our videos go live. Also remember to share the video out there as well so that people will be able to see the real actual news that is going on out there. So Matt Gaetz gets in a very heated debate about these diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that are being inserted into our military. This has been going on for a long time now, and a Democrat representative, Representative Horsford, loses his mind in this clip. This is a crazy one. This guy literally loses it. Go and check it out here.
There is a time in every debate where everything has been said, but not yet by everyone. And that may be where we are in the DEI debate. But what I bring to the House now is the most fulsome amendment to completely remove DEI from the DoD. And even if my amendment doesn't pass, I want my colleagues to know that this NDAA in the base bill takes a meat cleaver to DEI. And the amendments that we have adopted in the last round of voting have certainly ensured that DEI, regardless of the passage or not of my amendment, will not be a principal feature of our military service if this bill becomes law, and that would be a great thing for our military. That said, it's important to note that in the name of DEI, our military has done some pretty strange things. Secretary Austin, in his first act, ordered a 24-hour stand down so that everyone could reflect on their extremism. The reality is, even majority-minority units in the military found this divisive. They complained to my office, and certainly it did not create a more lethal force. Also, in the name of DEI, we've hired some rather strange people in the government. There's one DEI officer named Calissa Wing, and she actually, if you can believe this, worked in the DEI's department at DODOA, the education system within DoD, and she put out the following inclusive tweet. I'm so exhausted at these white folks in these professional development sessions. This lady actually had the audacity to say that black people can be racist too. I had to stop the session and give Karen the business. This was the person that we had hired to create a more inclusive environment, and I think it's indicative of the inherently divisive culture that has permeated radical racial ideology. My amendment gives us the opportunity to pull it up by the root, and I hope my colleagues support it. I would add this final point before yielding back. We have standards in the military that allow the military to expel racists and white supremacists completely in the absence of DEI programs. We've had those standards in the military for quite some time. And so even if my amendment were to become law, I don't want anyone in the body to think that we would be stuck with people in the military that didn't meet long-standing, pre-existing standards of personal conduct. And with that, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Virginia. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Virginia seek recognition?
I rise to claim the time in opposition to the amendment, and I yield 1.5 minutes to Mr. Horsford.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to this amendment. Mr. Speaker, the previous speaker, the maker of this amendment, talked about being exhausting. This issue that he has brought before this body and the committee is exhausting. Just this week, the sponsor of this amendment called diversity, equity, and inclusion in the military a, quote, failed experiment. He has called it cancerous. Just this week, a senator from Alabama stated that it was his opinion that white nationalists are not necessarily racist and refused to denounce white nationalists serving in the military. All of this with the backdrop of the same senator holding up hundreds of military nominations, which is actively hurting our national security, something that this NDAA bill would address. To what end? The U.S. Marine Corps does not have a confirmed commandant as we speak. And yet, just an hour ago, on this very floor, one of the members on the other side of this body said his amendment, quote, had nothing to do whether colored people or black people can serve, unquote. Mr. Speaker, these comments show exactly why we need diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Every day, our military grows more diverse, more and more reflecting the diversity of our nation. This amendment does nothing to address the recruitment shortfalls that our services are facing, and instead it will only make it more difficult to recruit Americans on diverse backgrounds representing the true makeup of our nation. What are you so afraid of? Why do you keep bringing these divisive issues to the body of this floor? You are out of order. You are exhausting, Mr. Gaetz.
The gentleman is no longer recognized. The gentleman is no longer recognized. Woman from Virginia reserves.
I reserve.
Excuse me, a
gentleman
point of
from-
order, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
No, Mr. Speaker, I've made a point of order. You have to rule on the point of order.
The gentleman will state his point of order.
The gentleman has an obligation to address the chair, not other members. He did not do that. He was out of order, violating the decorum of the House.
The gentleman has not stated a proper point of order.
A
Would you like
parliamentary
to-
inquiry.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there because it goes on a ways. You can definitely check that out as well. But the main thing here is that you have this Democrat representative absolutely losing his mind. This is very standard for a lot of leftists and left-wing people, where they basically just start screaming. They start losing their mind. They don't have a good point to make, but they love to just shout at everyone and expect that all of a sudden is going to fix the issue, or in some way is some type of rebuttal. He even mentions this comment where he says, well, he's talked about colored people and black people. It's like, guys, hello, you're the ones that are calling everybody that's not white a POC, a person of color. But the second somebody says colored, all of a sudden that's a problem? I mean, they're so backwards. They use language to try and mask what is really taking place. They use language and say, well, if I say that you're a person of color, it's okay, but if you say colored, then you're racist. How does that make any sense at all? I mean, come on. We're arguing over semantics here, but the left loves to do this. They do this as well when we look at the word equity. Of course, a lot of people see that. They see this word and they hear it and they think that means equality, that it is in some way a good thing. But they are two very different things, and the left is very specific about why they use that terminology. Because the reality is that actual equality is not based off of or in any way dealing with trying to create or give people unfair means to success. When you look at equity, that's what it is. Remember, all of this is dealing with this idea that equity is actually trying to get everybody basically to the same endpoint. No matter where they started at, no matter where they're at in their life, they want everybody to be the same. It's almost like a type of communism to basically say, hey, it doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, whatever, everybody's just going to be in this poverty line, just whatever it is, whatever that amount is. And what they're trying to do is infiltrate and implement this stuff into our society, whether that be the military or these other companies or our mainstream media or in our movies and media. You're going to see this over and over again, where they're going to try and basically say, you know what, we need to make it so that this thing represents what our country looks like. Of course, that's not what they mean. Of course, they don't care. This is what has created these quotas. This is what was causing the whole controversy in Harvard, where Asians were getting discriminated against because of the same thing. They're trying to get everybody on an equal level playing field, and at any point when somebody is overperforming or is favored in one way or another simply because of interest alone, all of a sudden they feel like they are obligated to fix it, even when it doesn't need fixing. But equity is not equality. Equality is giving everybody an equal opportunity to succeed, no matter what their situation is. As in, everyone has the ability to join the military. Everyone that applies to the military is held to the exact same standard as anyone else. But what they will do is they'll say, well, you know what, women have a harder time doing these same types of tests, and black people have a harder time doing these types of tests, so what we're going to do is we're going to make it easier for them and harder for these other people to try and level things out. Well, equity, if that's what you're calling it, that's unequal, actually. That's the most unequal thing that you can do to people, is to basically say that everyone's held to these different standards. That's not equality at all. It's the exact opposite of equality, and people need to realize that as well. But the point here is that you see them basically making these comments, arguing and shouting to the top of his lungs, when the reality is that they're failing to miss the entire point. Our military was not meant to be focused on the diversity. They're so much more focused on the diversity and what our military looks like, and completely don't care as to what they actually are able to do. Every other country in the world is focused on building and developing a military that is strong. But we're, for some reason, so focused on trying to make it look a certain way that we're going to wind up killing it as a result. The reason why we know this is the case is because we only have to look at other things, like our movies, where they've race swapped so many people and they put all of these people in places where they shouldn't be, and then these movies lose money in the box office, and then all of a sudden everybody's wondering how that happened. It's simply because of the fact that you are putting people that aren't even the best for the job. You're simply hiring people solely based off of the color of their skin instead of people that are actually good at what they do. And we need a military, especially when you're tasked with protecting our country. We need a military that is good at what they do, no matter what the situation is. And they don't care about that. They only want to be looking at how they look on the surface, but they don't care about any of the substance underneath. Now, every country sees that. Remember the advertisement, I think that the Navy or one of them put out, where they were talking about, there was this girl and she was talking about all of this diversity stuff and how being a woman and this and that. How is that going to help us get anywhere? Other countries see that, and we're just showing our weakness. And this is going to continue to happen. Until it changes, it will continue to happen, and we'll have a very weak military as a result. But let me know down in the comments what you think about this clip. Tell me about this guy being out of line. I mean, obviously he's gone crazy here, but let us know your thoughts down below. We enjoy reading those comments and hearing about that. Once again, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, and share this video so that you will know and other people will know what's going on out there in this country. With that being said, we thank you for watching this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.